old-fashioned way, in a notepad, called Dean from BMX Plus magazine. So I immediately called Dean. He's like, hey, we're going to have you do a test on this red line. Can you do it Thursday? I'm like, I'll be there. I mean, obviously. So I show up. I'm like, what do I need? He's like, just show up. So they bring me a couple BMX Plus kits. I had to have a white open face helmet, which they wanted. And that was it. So I get the kit on, get dressed. And my famous jump, which was one of the first jumps that they posted, was like a Leary. And what happened was the way the bike was set up, it had such a short top tube, the handlebars hit the seat. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't do it. So we're trying to figure it out. I go, I can fix it, but I have to bend the seat post. So Dean and John Kerr were there as well. So I'm like, I can fix it. They're like, how? So I turn the bike upside down, and I start banging the seat on an angle against the curb, and I literally bend the seat post, okay? So now the bars, you can't really tell in the photos, but now the bars can go all the way around, so I can do a Larry. So the red line at the time was a $200 bike, like it retailed. So Billy Griggs was a red line racer, and he got a little pissed at me because we're friends here at Parks too, because they're like, how the opening caption or something said, how rad can you get on a $200 bike? Just ask Mike Franze. And it's got a picture of me all sideways and clipped. It was classic. But what's funny is I'm wearing Oakley goggles and one of those Jora or JT face pieces, right? Right. About 5 days before that, I took a fall and took the whole side of my face off. So I got scabs and a face rash. So with the goggles and the Jofa, you couldn't really see it. But I think in that issue, there's a picture of me with like the goggles off, and you could see around my eye. I still have a scar. So I literally still have the scar because I got stitches. But that was in there, and then the scabs stuck to the goggles and stuff. But that was my first test. It went over really well. I remember when it got publicized in BMX Plus, the Save On drugstore down the street from my house sold the magazine, right? So what do? I go open up all 12 of them, all across all the magazine counter of my Larry picture, you know. Larry, just classic. So it was quite. I mean, it was you know. Like today, if you like basketball and you're allowed to go play with Kobe, it meant everything to me. It was a huge, you know. So I did probably 6 or 7 tests. I did redline. I did a slingshot, which was a lot of fun. And they let me keep that bike and ride it and test it for like 6 months. That was kind of fun. I never raced it. I did a torquer. I did a test with Malem Abrams and John Tomac one time showed up, and we did like 3 tests together. So the funny thing was during these tests, you know, John Kerr was there and Dean was there, and they're still good friends to me this day. I have both their cell phones, and we talk often. John Kerr was always like, just one more. And back then, we're shooting with film. There was no digital cameras. And I've always had a passion for photography. So after we do all these shoots, you know, you'd have to wait till the magazine would come out to see what they publicized. Right. So it was a lot of fun and just, you know, different things. But the coolest thing about it is Dean Bradley, who is a magician with a camera, and so is John Kerr. Dean will post up photos often of like his archives. He has every photo he ever took developed on a slide or somewhere, and he'll just post a photo of somebody out of the blue and tag you. So you have like no idea. So all of a sudden I'm on Facebook and I get tagged Dean Bradley, and he's got a picture of me that I've never seen before from Parks, you know, doing a test. So there's a picture of me standing on this jump where I'm looking down so he could focus the camera to Kevin to take a picture of where I'm going to be in the air. And just, so that's just, it's priceless. I've never seen those. And Dean and I have had millions of conversations. He worked for Electra when I owned my bike shop and talked to him hundreds of times. He spent a ton of time at Giant doing stuff. Fast forward, John Kerr and I are still friends. He's the man of faith. We've had some amazing conversations. I see him at various mountain bike races and Supercross. John Kerr actually used my son Brent as a test rider for Mountain Bike Action. Bitchin', dude. So I've got a side-by-side picture of me testing with John, and then fast forward, you know, 40 years later with my son doing a mountain bike test with John, and just it was cool. Wow. But you asked, like, back then, how did, like, today they pay you. I didn't ask. I don't know. They just did it for free. Hey, I'm going to do a test, you know. So they gave me the kit. I had the helmet, and I did as many as I could because I was getting the magazines. I didn't care. So we didn't get paid. When my son did them, Kevin, he got paid. Like they them like a couple $100 for doing these tests. So it's completely different today. But yet back then I was,
Sure.
16. I was just stoked to be in the magazine.
Sure, dude. So is there like a form you fill out after you finish Friday, or do you just tell the guy, hey, this thing's a piece of shit, dude? Don't. I mean, how do you convey your comments on the bike?
I think if I recall, like they would, after you were done doing the photo shoot and we were jumping and taking all these photos, about 2 hours worth of work, Kevin, then like they would ask me some questions like, all right, what do you think of, how'd the bike handle? How'd the bike turn? How'd the bike jump? And obviously, I don't think they weren't biased. They wanted to write a good report no matter what, because I've never, they give us certain things. And I just remember that red line. It was, a valued bike for under $200. It had like Tioga tires and it had a Cashmax real seat. It was a mild steel frame with a one-piece crank. But, you would give it your evaluation of what you thought, and they would modify it to what they felt was best and give it constructive criticism. But they were never, negative towards it or anything else.
Sure. Because I mean, do the companies pay BMX Plus to do this, or does BMX Plus say we're going to pick this bike or this manufacturer today?
From what I gathered, and this is from those guys, and even with when I was with Gork a lot from BMX Action, advertising space was kind of the key. So Redline bought